estate.
Yeah, real estate has been one of the few industries that has excelled during this whole entire thing. This is Byron and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 137 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
All right, 2 rackets and a marketeer of the week this week.
It was a good
Somebody
week.
who we like very much on social is the marketeer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that narrows it down much, but
No.
it is one of our faves. Uh-oh.
Excuse me.
Do you want...
Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
Uh-oh. Time to quarantine.
Yeah, a little something there. All right. Racket number 1, Inman. All 3 articles are Inman this week. Fall is the new spring in real estate. This is an Andrea Brambilla article, staff writer article. Low mortgage rates, record low, skyrocketing buyer demand, and shrinking inventory have pushed the housing market's busy season forward through at least the end of this year. Nicole White, do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously, with the pandemic happening in March, which was really sort of the beginning of the spring season, obviously delayed, sort of buyer demand. But I'll be honest,
that's what they said here too, 2-month delay on the spring market.
Absolutely. But I have to admit, though, I mean, and I think that you would agree, the fall market has always been for my business, just as busy as the spring market has been. I definitely have never really seen a lag. I think going into the fall, we naturally get a little anxious because it's like school starting and, everyone is dragging their feet a little bit more. But I mean, now that school's sort of officially started this week and next week, I mean, I don't see any reason on
a personal level, I would agree with you. For me, the falls have been a little bit better, throughout my career. But you and I have also played on listings a little bit above the average median price here in our market. So we've had a little higher price listings. Sometimes those take a little longer to sell. Right. So I think that's why you and I have experienced better falls as opposed to like if we just worked the median, the median price point in our areas.
Yep.
And just stayed on that on buyers. The majority of those sales do historically in our location happen in the spring.
Well, obviously this year there's so many moving parts.
This is such a different year.
I mean, even in the first line, I mean, they're talking about right there the need for more spacious, multifunctional homes. I mean, I think we're going to actually continue to see that even as school continues, because I think that we're going to, unfortunately, this is just my opinion, we're going to start seeing a lot of schools actually, in my opinion, close down.
I disagree.
You do?
Yeah.
So I think the more that the kids are going back and the more that they're engaging again, I think, honestly, I don't even think it's necessarily going to be maybe the kids as much as it's going to be the teachers. But anyway, I do think that there is going to be another spike. I do think that schools are probably going to be closing, which in my opinion will inevitably cause
what leads you to
another
believe, well, I don't want to get into that. Why you think schools are going to close? What I do want to get into,
because colleges are already closing,
that makes a lot of sense to me, because they're getting the money either way. Chief economist Lawrence Yun, National Association of Realtors, declared that 2020 housing market was outperforming, this was just last week, outperforming 2019's housing market. So we're already outperforming last year's.
Right.
He also predicted that this year's home sales would end up higher than the 5.34 million home sales sold in 2019. So we're already having a better year. Right. And they're saying that this type of activity is going to continue all the way through the end of the year. I believe in more in that median average price point. You will start, because we've had like here so many multiple offers. So there's still so many buyers that have missed out that want to get into the market and buy.
Right.
I do think as we get closer to November and obviously there's something the first week of November going on. Right after that, 2 weeks later, it's like, then it's Thanksgiving. Then it's like, I think your high end, your super, super high end in whatever area you're in could take a pause for a couple months. But other than that, I think the markets are going to be incredibly strong across the board.
Well, I think the number one thing that's pushing that, though, is the interest rates. I mean, there are so many buyers right now that are missing out and they're super anxious. I am being led to believe that the interest rates are going to be just as low next year. So for all those buyers that are missing out this year and they're still able to rent or they're still living with their parents, I don't think that you are going to be missing out on a thing, between now and when you actually find a house. I think that your rates are still going to be low. I think that's going to continue that surge. And I agree with you. I do think that those low interest rates are obviously what's carrying sort of that low to middle, price point there. I don't know. It's an interesting one though too, because I think that the high end is also does move though naturally during the fall and the winter, because I do think that buyers think that they're getting deals. So I don't know how much of a pause there's really going to be, but. Again, there's so many things that have there's nothing predictable, I feel like, about this year, except obviously I do think, though, that the rates will continue to stay this low. So I think that will certainly help continue what it is that we're seeing.
Yeah, real estate has been one of the few industries that has excelled during this whole entire thing. And the low rates have really helped that, and they're saying low rates are going to continue into next year. So I don't think this is a racket. This fall feels like a spring market, but the whole year, outside of 2 months, has felt like a spring market. Here we go. Racket number 2.
Love it.
Airbnb long-term bookings are on the rise as customers return to the platform. They're looking for longer-term stays and the ability to bring pets with them, according to Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky.
So I think that this is a worthwhile conversation, because we did talk about Airbnb again back in March and April, because I think Airbnb put a pause, right? Because travel restriction, and then you weren't able to book less than 30 days, right? Wasn't there
I'm
some
not sure.
Sort of?
I forget if they did a pause.
I think we'll have to bring Tim on for that one, because I know that Tim's Airbnb Macy's situation sort of hurt a little bit because you weren't able to book just one night. I think there was a minimum stay. I do feel like we talked about that, a few months back, about Airbnb sort of taking a nosedive.
And maybe it was area specific. I don't remember that.
But I do. Well, again, hotels were closed because you couldn't do short term, right? Airbnb looks for.
Yeah, this is March 16th. Experiences pause to prioritize safety of community. With this priority in mind, we've made the difficult decision to pause all Airbnb experiences until at least April 30th. Yeah, so you're right. That was on March 16th. So that was a month and a half pause.
Yeah, there was a little. So I'm happy that we're re-engaging the conversations, and I do think naturally, I'm still getting people looking for rentals, long-term rentals, short-term rentals. Hey, if I'm working remotely, like people that are sort of in the middle of the state, if I'm required to work remotely, maybe I'll spend my winter on the shore. Mm-hmm. So I do think there's going to be wonderful opportunities to continue to come up for long-term rentals.
This is an amazing stat. Yeah. So Airbnb experienced a 22% year-over-year increase in consumer spending in July. So July 2019, July 2020, 22% more here in July 2020.
Well, we were talking
really
about
impressive.
It before, though. Like, is it because the homeowners are charging more? Is that why?
Because they did say it's consumer spending, not necessarily bookings.
Right.
As consumers are returning, they're looking for these longer term stays. We mentioned that at the top. Mm-hmm. There's a new trend where traveling and living are starting to blur together. People are all working from home, so they can be anywhere when they do that.
Right.
People are booking for weeks at a time or even months at a time.
Yeah.
Some of the things we mentioned, pets, they're looking to bring their pets because they're going to have these longer term stays. They also are frequently searching for pools, Wi-Fi, so that Wi-Fi connection keeps coming up. Like, how strong is my Wi-Fi?
I mean, everyone needs Wi-Fi. I want a Wi-Fi if I'm staying for one night.
I think specifically the strength has been important to people, though. It's been important to me. Kitchen, air conditioning, washers. Yeah, you're going to be there for a while. You need to wash your clothes. Jacuzzi.
Wow.
And free parking. Hey,
Jacuzzi.
Who doesn't want a coos?
I don't know. Now you're sharing. Like, who was in there before?
Little hot tubby?
Did they quarantine?
Little hot tubby action?
Is it clean? I don't know.
Airbnb guests are also largely booking spontaneous trips, close to home.
That I don't think is a racket at all. I mean, just to get away for a few days where you're not staring at your dishes or your laundry, I feel like is a bonus. Again, a majority of schools too, and I can only speak for our area, are doing like the hybrid model for school too. So many families now are able to, if your kid is going to school Thursday, Friday, you can skip out of town Friday evening and then not come back until Wednesday. So, I mean, you're having like this consistently long weekend each weekend, especially if mom and dad don't have to go to an office to work. I mean, you're pretty much just moving back to your house for 2 days to go to school.
And I think also the consensus too is that an Airbnb in a health pandemic is actually safer than a hotel, because there's a lot more people in the common areas of the hotel, just a lot more people potentially in a hotel, where if you have a single family Airbnb, it's just you. Well,
but it's just better. I mean, now you're making your own breakfast, you're making your own lunch, especially if you're trying to do this on a,
longer term basis.
That, and like you're trying to save a little bit of money. I mean, as much as everybody obviously,
you don't save any money on Airbnb.
But I think you do, because you're able. I'm not spending $25 for each of my children to have a bowl of Cheerios. But if I can have an Airbnb, I'm giving my kids
service and that kind of stuff,
right? But. So it seems to be the most economic way to sort of get away and to do it without having to pay breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Well, I think people convince themselves that they're going to save money, then they get on the trip and they spend just as much as they would have in a hotel.
Potentially.
Oh, for sure.
Potentially.
People don't budget when they go on these trips.
I mean, but again, we're talking about long term. We're talking about vacation and life blurring. So this isn't necessarily a vacation. This is just a different place to now spend your time, because you're just so sick of being home.
This is a super luxury thing to do. Like, have a home and then decide I want to go work an hour away from home because they've got a nicer view, and I'm going to have a better capacity to get my work done over at this Airbnb. That's a super luxury thing to do.
Absolutely.
What I do think is interesting though is that it seems like there's a lot of these homeowners that are marketing their home on Airbnb, that investors, whatever, that are it seems like more of them are allowing pets, because they mention it a couple times here. I mean, for me, boy, if I'm Airbnb-ing with pets, I am jacking up the pet deposit. So you're not saving money there on me if I'm the owner of this home. And I got to jack up the nightly stay, because you do a year of people bringing pets into your home versus a year of people not bringing pets into the home, the wear and tear is going to be dramatically different. I don't know about you, but when I walk into a house where we've got pet owners, I can smell it. When the owners can never smell it.
Well, you love dogs, though.
Can you smell that? I can't really smell. Yeah, I can smell it. I can smell it, guys. It smells in here, and there's real wear and tear that comes with pets. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Well, I guess what's super interesting there is that if you're getting into the Airbnb game and this is going to be your move, it sounds like you're going to need to be super strategic with the things that like maybe no carpets, maybe no rugs, keep it, maybe not even any hardwood floors, maybe go with more of like a vinyl where you can easily wipe it down. You're not worried about paws. So again, I think if you're getting into the Airbnb game, this is just as important for you to read too, because you now need to know what people are expecting, demanding, and how are you going to be able to maintain your home long term.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever, have a night where you're unbooked if you allow pets. It's definitely going to help your bookings.
Right. And if you have high-speed internet.
I've seen people put in like the, like in the foyer or whatever, a almost like a dog shower. So like if the dog comes in from the backyard, there's like a tub. It's like a car wash, for your dog.
Right.
Throw them in there.
Maybe it's better off being outside though.
I've seen them outside, but I've seen them inside too.
Yeah. Like in a mudroom area.
You gotta give your dogs a shower every time before they come in the house.
Oh, but then they're wet and then they're shaking. Yeah. And they're smelly when they're wet. I don't know. I think you might need to rethink that.
What a racket. Anyways, Airbnb, I think that's a racket. Airbnb though is what I don't think is a racket is they are going to IPO before the end of this year. So investors, keep your eye out for that IPO. All right. Marketeer of the week, one of our online friends. I
think she talks to you more than she talks to me.
Maybe I have met her. Katie Day, I think
she's great. Again, I swear she's like a photographer that follows her around, because she's always like, and she always is wearing. She's a true blue like Coldwell Banker agent. Yeah. I think her company is called Move Me to Texas. What's the name of her company?
Yes.
On a team, Move Me to Texas.
It is something very similar to that. I'll look it up, Nicole.
Move Me to TX, or anyway, because it's always on her shirt. She's always wearing the Coldwell Banker blue. But again, she's always like there's photos.
Move me to Texas. You've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love her feed. But again, she's always look. You see, look.
Yeah, she's in Houston.
She's there, sitting there on a right there.
Yep. Maybe we can pop up a couple of her
she's
IG
always like
photos.
it's like she's got a photographer just following her around in her her polo shirt.
Here's why she's the Marketeer of the Week, not the polo shirt.
Well, she's working though.
She did an article.
She's super consistent.
Very consistent. She did an article on Inman, which we will post, and it's for Coldwell Banker. So to your point, she does wave the flag.
Yeah, look, the Coldwell Banker brand and people are unlike any other.
Ooh, wow! Look at that. Anyways, what I do think is interesting here and deserving of the Marketeer of the Week is that Coldwell Banker is opening up Gen Blue 2020, Generation Blue, which is their annual conference, to absolutely everybody in the industry, 100% free. So if you're an agent with anybody, Nicole and I are William Ravis Real Estate. If you're EXP, if you're Compass, if you're Sotheby's, if you're anybody else, you can log on to their virtual Gen Blue this year and check out the whole thing. Check out every single thing they have to offer.
I mean,
Gen Blue.
I'm sure it's going to be mesmerizing.
Nicole, what did you say before the show?
I didn't say a word before the show. I was a CB agent. I mean, I think they're great. I think they're just.
Did you ever go to a Gen Blue?
I don't know.
Gen Blue looks like a lot of fun.
I don't know the answer to that. I did go. They did send
the real in life ones.
They did send me down to the breakers, though. I was like one of the top agents that got to go down to the breakers. Now that was
your style.
That was something special.
Can I be very honest here?
When are you not?
I don't know if I'm the first one to say this, but I think these virtual conferences have absolutely blown. I hate these virtual conferences. They are terrible.
Well, that's because you really like to go. You are a people person. Well, okay, so you are a networking person, I should say, not a people person.
That's a good.
You
word
are a
for
networking person. So that's what you're missing. Like you're not necessarily there to hear, Bob Blow talk. You're more there.
Well, I am though as well. Yeah.
For certain, yes. But what makes those conferences so effective is like you're feeling their energy, you're feeling your neighbor's energy, but then you also get to continue to feed that energy afterwards. Because once Bob Blow is done, you're just turning your computer off and you're like, all right.
Well, I think the best one I've seen so far pulled off is Tom Ferry's Success Summit last week. He had like everybody on Zoom that wanted to participate like in the background of the person speaking, and that person could see all those little Zoom panels, those little Zoom faces on there. I thought that was interesting.
Zoom.
It's still Zoom. And like Gary Vee was the keynote. I made sure I checked that out, and Gary Vee did a great job as always, and he answered questions, and that was it was done very well. But I mean, like 3 times. I mean, Gary's from his like apartment in New York City, because you can see New York City buildings, or his office somewhere in New York City. And like 3 times he cut out. New York City's got like really strong Wi-Fi too, they say.
Yeah.
Some of the best.
Well.
And like 3 times it's like freezing up.
Yeah.
And it's just like you start to get bored. You start to get fidgety. Everybody's got this like low attention
Well, but then
span.
like there's things around you, and like you're looking at your dishes, you're looking at your laundry, like potentially if you're home.
No, I'm not. But
I know you're not. But it's very easy to be distracted. I mean, there is nothing better than hopping on a plane, for that one in particular, flying to California. Yeah. Doing that for 4 days, like there, and you leave and you feel full.
But anyways, I think this is a good move for CB to get a little publicity.
Why not? Well, what a great recruiting piece too.
I think what you said before the show, you said that they're not going to show you any of their hidden handshakes.
No, there's no hidden handshakes. I'm not even so certain that at Gen Blue there ever was anything.
No,
I mean, even if at our Ravis events, there's nothing hidden. There's nothing like proprietary necessarily. It's
there's
just
some
like
good information for sure.
For sure, I'm not saying that.
And when I used to go to like the Sotheby's ones, I always used to say, when people would ask me like, hey, what's the best, if I only could go to one conference a year, which one should I go to? Because like the Sotheby's one was a lot of money, so like people in Sotheby's would ask, it was a lot of money. You'd be in Miami or Vegas or somewhere. Just the ticket to go, they would charge you like thousands of dollars, $2,000, $1,800 or something.
Oh, just to go to the conference?
Just to go to the conference.
Then you have to pay for the hotel and then fly.
And you got to pay for everything. Yeah. Even if you were a speaker there, they were charging you the...
Were you a speaker one time?
I was, yes, I was.
And they didn't, nothing
Nothing Sotheby's. Anyways, people would ask me like, in Sotheby's, should I go to that? I would always say go to the Tom Ferry Success Summit or one of the Tom Ferry. You're actually going to probably spend way less money. And, not a knock on Sotheby's. This is to your point. A lot of these, and this will be probably the same thing with Gen Blue. It's all fluff, man. It is all company fluff.
Rah-rah.
It's a lot of that rah-rah. And
pushing towards their agenda, not necessarily towards the agent's agenda.
And your real value from those is going to be the relationships that you build. So like if you are going to go to, Gen Blue's virtual, but next year, if you're going to go to the real one or like the Sotheby's one that I mentioned or something like that, the value is in collaborating and building a real relationship with other people that you can either start a mastermind with and learn from each other, or obviously do referrals,
right?
Whatever. But that's where the real value is on those. The virtual experience, are you going to check it out? I'll see who the speakers are.
I barely get onto my kids' Zoom calls, but I would participate.
They've got a link in here. We're going to link up the article, and within that article is the link for
Why don't we
experience.
Maybe what we should do is we should pick a day. We'll watch it here in the office, and then we could talk about it on one of our Real Words. It's the 16th. That's next week. So we could follow it up the next week, see what we think.
Andy Grammer. Ever heard of him? He's a songwriter. What is this? What is this, a concert?
Or is this happy hour on Thursday?
Ooh. Dave Ramsey. I would like to check that one out. Dave Ramsey's going to be on there. That could be interesting. I don't think a singer.
Relax. It's happy hour. Right there. Gen Blue happy hour on Thursday, September. It's happy hour. He's just playing music so we can have a happy hour.
Talk about the fluff. All right. Katie Day, great job, though, covering the story and getting the message out for your brokerage. I think you're amazing, Katie. You're the Marketeer of the week, not necessarily CB. Any parting shots, Nicole? No? All right, guys.
That's a review, right?
That's it. Keep it real.
Bye, guys.